Hey y'all, how are y'all doing today? Thank you so much for joining me and watching Farmhouse Cooking in the South to see what I'm fixing today. It's still cooler outside, warm days are coming, yay! But I do want to go ahead and make some homemade vegetable soup. Been craving vegetable soup, I love it. And I'm making a smaller batch today than what I normally would. We'll have some for dinner tonight. But then also, I'm going to freeze the rest. So I'll put the rest of it in containers. Because even throughout the summer, sometimes I crave some homemade soup. Or in the spring, and I can just set it out, let it thaw, and then warm it up. It's a big batch, but it's not as big of a batch as I normally do. Today, I'm going to do it in my crock pot. Sometimes I do it on the stove. Sometimes I do it in the crock pot. Do it in the crock pot so I can do other things while it's cooking. So what I've done is I have browned with salt and pepper a pound of ground hamburger meat. I just sauteed that in the skillet and we'll add that right in. You can still see the steam coming from it. Now I've made this soup before with no meat. I like it with no meat sometimes. Sometimes I'm in the mood for hamburger meat. I've also made this soup before with deer meat. You can do that as well. Or you can add chicken. It's however you want to do it. This soup that I'm making right now is so versatile. It's unreal. The veggies I have are just what I had on hand. I would love to put some squash or zucchini in this, but I don't have any, and it's okay. But what I am going to go ahead and add is 2 cans of petite diced tomatoes, juice and all. And you can buy the diced tomatoes if you want to, that has seasonings in them, like oregano and things, but I'm going to add my own seasonings to this soup. I'm also going to add 1 can of hot rotel. That'll give it just enough heat. I remember growing up, y'all, my Papa and Granny, they had their own garden, and most of the time they lived off their garden. They were poor and, you know, just got by. So a lot of times my Papa had this huge, beautiful garden, and he grew everything: tomatoes, corn, potatoes, green beans, I mean, you name it, cabbage, lettuce, he grew it. He made the best homemade vegetable soup I have ever eaten in my life. I remember it from when I was very young in my childhood. It had the best flavor. Everything he put in it, he rarely put meat in it that I remember, but it was all veggies, fresh veggies from his garden. But that soup was so hot, it was almost miserable to eat. I remember when I was a little kid, we'd go over there and he'd make it for all of us, and we would eat it, and I remember it being so good, but I just remember being like, Mama, this is so hot. She's like, I know, but it's good, right? And I said, yeah, it's very good. Coughing as I'm choking on the heat. But as I grew older, I appreciated that, and I could handle, you know, more heat better. But I'll never forget his homemade vegetable soup. And he also made the best homemade pickled okra. I've never had pickled okra like his since. I truly do miss that. I wish I could replicate that somehow. I'll just keep trying. So I've got my tomatoes in here. And I've also got cut up a small onion. I just got it diced. That goes in. Now I like my dices in my soup, like I do my chilies, a little bigger because I don't want the onion to cook away. But it's your preference if you would like it smaller diced or larger diced. I like to see the onion in my soups and chilies and stews and stuff. Alright, so to this I am going to add a 1/2 cup of lima beans. I love lima beans in my soup. And these are all frozen. All my vegetables are frozen other than my cabbage and my celery. But these lima beans were frozen. When I'm making soups and stews, I'd rather use frozen veggies if I don't have fresh. I just feel like it's healthier than the canned versions. There's nothing wrong with the canned versions. I just feel like there's more sodium and stuff. Fresh veggies are literally frozen from fresh, if that makes sense. So, a 1/2 cup of lima beans. I have 2 cups of mixed frozen vegetables. This is corn, carrots, peas, and green beans. Now, sometimes I cut up these fresh veggies, the carrots and all that good stuff. I'll even use canned green beans that I've actually canned. And then sometimes I'll use medallion carrots. It just all depends on what I have on hand. I happen to have this vegetable mixture. So 2 cups, it's maybe 2.5 cups. I think it's 2.5 cups going in. Like I said, soups are so versatile. You can add whatever you want, however much you want. So to this is like a 1/4 head of cabbage I had left from slaw I made previously. I'm going to go ahead and add this and kind of stir it around to see if it needs all of it. If I don't need all the cabbage, it'll either be a good snack. I love snacking on raw cabbage. Or I can blend it up and add it to my existing slaw that I have in the refrigerator. Do y'all like eating raw cabbage like that? I could literally just sit and maybe put a little black pepper on it. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. I love it. I love cabbage any way I can give it, actually. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some of this. I cored it. Even when I made my slaw, I always cut the core out first and then I cut it up for my slaw to put in the blender. For this, I just chopped it up in chunks. It'll cook down. My husband's not crazy about boiled cabbage, so I'm not going to add a whole lot, I don't think. Just enough to taste. Alright, I'll save the rest for snacking. Or my slaw, I'll decide. Probably both. I'll snack on some and put some in the slaw. So here I've got 2 ribs of celery cut up. And I've got them pretty big because, once again, my husband does not like celery. He can kind of handle it if it's cooked, but not really. So I made them a little bit bigger so he can just dig them out. And I'm probably not going to need both stalks either. I'm just going to add it till I think it's enough. And once again, whatever's left I can snack on because I love celery as well. It's funny, you know what he calls celery? A vile weed. I know it's not a weed, but every time he refers to celery, it's a vile weed to him. Because he doesn't like it. So I'll just put about that much in there and snack on the rest. Give that a little mix. And at this point, I have juices for my tomatoes. The juices will cook out of the canned tomatoes that I put in there. But I'm still going to add some water. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of water to it before I add anything else. And I'm not making any cornbread to go with this. Other you can, because a lot of times I do. But both of us have been busy just working and doing different things that sometimes we just don't want a huge meal. We want something light. And this is light, this is healthy, and it'll be very satisfying because it's got the meat in there, it's got all the veggies, so it is still pretty hearty. So to this, I'm going to go ahead and add, I'm going to start out with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'll taste it later, taste it, and see if I need to add some more. I'd rather put not enough than too much to begin with. Okay. I'm also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of basil. It smells so good. I'm going to pour a little bit on the counter as well. And I'm also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. It's going to be so good. Every time I make a homemade soup or something like that, I think about my wonderful Papaw. I miss him and Granny so much, and my mom. Do you ever do that? When I'm in the kitchen a lot, especially if I'm making one of my precious mom's recipes or something I remember her making or having growing up, it just takes me back to those times, and it's such sweet, wonderful memories. I think that's one reason why I like being in the kitchen so well. It just takes me back, you know, to simpler times and wonderful family members that have passed on that you just miss desperately. This looks so good. It smells so good. So probably what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of this water. This quart jar. It was pretty full. And I like it soupy. I like it chunky, but I also kind of like it soupy, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'll get this out, and I'm probably going to cook this. on high for 4 hours, and then I'll taste it. Halfway through, I'll taste it and see if I need to add any more seasonings to it. Because everything's frozen, it's pretty much just going to take the celery and the cabbage the longest to cook, and probably not even the celery. But you want all those flavors just to marry together and become one. It's going to be good. I added black pepper and some salt to my hamburger meat when I cooked it. So that's why I didn't add much salt, and I'm not going to add any black pepper to this. The rotel's got some of the heat in it, and there's some black pepper that I cooked in the hamburger mixture. Alright, I was looking around to make sure I have all my ingredients. So I'm going to get this over and put it in the crock pot and get it cooking on high for 4 hours, and we will taste test it together. I can't wait to taste it. It already smells so good. Alright, y'all. I'm back. The soup is ready. It's been cooking. I let it cook for 4 hours on high in the crock pot. The whole house is smelling absolutely delicious right now. The soup smells really good. Everything is done and soft. And just been here remembering my sweet, precious Papaw. I miss him so much. And honoring him as I'm eating the soup. It's nowhere near as good as his, like I said. I'll probably never get mine as good as my Papaw's was. Him and Granny always cooked down-home country meals and lived off their land, off their fresh veggies, and were great cooks. Everything I ever ate that either one of them ever made was absolutely delicious. And I know that's where Mama got her wonderful cooking from as well. I just only hope I'm a quarter as good as what any of them were. But I'm going to go ahead, and just to let you know, you may have noticed in my video previously when I was putting this together, I did not add any potatoes to it. I could take it or leave it with potatoes in my soups, my vegetable soups. I love potatoes, but it doesn't matter to me. I have potatoes. I could have put it in it, but I just chose not to. But absolutely, like I said earlier, soups are so versatile. You can certainly add potatoes to it if you want. It's your soup. Just fix it however you and your family like it. So it's been cooling just a little bit, and I've just got some crackers with it. Like I said earlier, sometimes we just don't want a big supper or dinner. Supper is dinner here. When I lived in Georgia, supper was dinner. It's odd. And lunch there was lunch, but lunch here is dinner. But anyway, for supper, just a little tidbit. So crackers is good. Now, if my husband decides he wants a hot ham and grilled cheese to go with his, or grilled cheese or something, then I'll fix it for his side. I'm just going to have crackers with mine. But I've let it cool a little bit. Everything's like really soft. It's actually still steaming. Let's see if I can do this gracefully. Still popping hot. That's so good. So comforting. So hearty yet healthy. Oh, it's so delicious. And like I said, we'll have this for supper this evening, unless my husband thinks he may want leftovers tomorrow or the next day. If not, then I'm just going to freeze the rest of it in batches. What I'll do, I'll just obviously let it come to room temperature and cool. And then I've got containers that I can put in the freezer. And then that way I'll have it, and I can just get one out anytime I'm ready for some homemade veggie soup. Because sometimes I want some vegetable soup with like a grilled cheese or even a peanut butter sandwich. That would be so tasty. But again, thank you so much for joining me and watching Farmhouse Cooking in the South, and being in my kitchen, talking about my wonderful Papaw and my granny and my precious mama that have gone on, and just reliving some childhood memories and some memories, and enjoying some soup. Make this soup. You'll like it. It's really good. It's going to start getting warmer. Warmer days are coming, but I'm going to enjoy this soup as long as I can. Again, thank you. If you haven't already, if you'll subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment, and let me know how you like your veggie soup, or if you have any sweet memories of your grandparents or parents making their version of a homemade vegetable soup. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.